Yeah, it's just that wasn't a soft landing into the river. So
and again, depending what altitude, if it was at a couple of 100 feet up, think of
we don't know when that descent started.
Exactly.
That's just where the person picked it up on their phone.
Right. But imagine dropping 200-300 feet. 400 feet quickly.
That's a lot of an altitude drop. There's a lot of factors in place here, and assuming that the people were in the water then for over an hour, I mean, that's just hypothermia sitting in at 45 minutes. It's a really difficult operation.
And I think the question right now too is, so they're saying at least 6, so there could be maybe 7 people or total were on board. We heard 2 people were rescued. We don't know what condition they were in. They were taken out of there. We've seen ambulances come and go. We've seen Coast Guard boats race across.
And you know how the stories change too. So we hope 2 people were rescued.
Yeah, we hope so.
We may find out that no one was
They might have
rescued.
been recovered.
Correct.
Right.
We're piecing all of this live together with you right now, and so it's the information has changed as we've just been on air for the last 30 minutes or so, but the weather conditions in the time that we've been on air have really deteriorated. The wind has picked up. We've seen rain too. And the water temperatures.
It's chilly. It's 50 degrees.
Unfortunately, though, as we've learned, with the new video that's come in, that stuff really, I think, at the end of the day, won't wind up having been.
I don't think so. I mean, the actual. Again, I looked at the observation
that type of crash.
at Teterboro Airport, which is the nearest airport to this crash scene. And at the time, the visibility was great. The visibility was 10 miles. The ceiling was at 6,000 feet. Very high ceiling. The wind had picked up, though. That was the one factor that wasn't much happening earlier on in the day, but the wind was sustained 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the southeast direction, but it was gusting to 30.
Gotcha.
So, but again, good visibility, great visibility. 10-mile visibility is excellent visibility with a high ceiling. So.
What happens right now to air traffic? I mean, this doesn't shut down the area airports, but does it ground local traffic on the Hudson?
Potentially, yes. Helicopters that want to transit going up and down. Again, the tourist helicopters. There may be what's called a notice to airmen that's been issued by the FAA, where they're restricting. They're putting up
a number of roads and areas that were already shutting down because of this. So.
West Side Highway, you can
West Side
expect delays.
Highway.
That's right. This will impact, people's commute. Obviously, that pales in comparison to the magnitude of the tragedy here. But I hear Sharon in my ear. Are we going to go back to Sharon Crowley, who's down in our newsroom? Sharon, what's the update?
Stephen and Natasha, social media going crazy. We're seeing a lot more videos and witness testimony coming in online there. And the video that we just showed our viewers of it crashing so quickly in the air, really. And what struck me is you could see even a splash of the water as it hits the water, and then immediately appears to be upside down. Just to recap for you, this happened, we're hearing from the NYPD and FDNY, and now Jersey City Fire and Rescue also responding to this situation because it's closer to the Jersey side. 3:17 and then 3:40 is when we're told the rescuers got to the situation, and the Associated Press, as we've been telling our viewers, 6 people on that helicopter that crashed into the Hudson River are now dead. So what we've seen in the last hour, I would say, is that the weather conditions, as you've been pointing out, the water is much choppier, and from helicopter crashes that I've covered on the East River and the Hudson River, the current is so stiff and so strong. Sometimes rescue crews have to move very quickly, even further down, whichever the way the water is going, to try to execute a rescue. And as Nick was saying, 50 degrees, very cold, very cold. Hard to believe anybody could survive in that temperature. But again, Associated Press sadly reporting tonight that 6 people have died. There were a lot of witnesses on both sides, on the Jersey side and in Lower Manhattan, and on the west side, to stay away from that area of Spring Street because they need it for the emergency response there. But what we've seen is the weather conditions deteriorate enough that you can see even executing this rescue mission makes it all the more difficult. But what we don't know now is exactly who those who lost their lives, why they were on that helicopter. But what we've been throwing back and forth for the last hour or so is, of course, there's tourist helicopters, and we've seen some involved in fatal crashes before this, and helicopters for transportation, of course, in Lower Manhattan as well. So we will be getting more information as it becomes available from the FAA, of course. And we are expecting at any time now a press conference. We will be hearing from authorities as soon as they're able to provide one for us. And of course, Nick can tell you the NTSB will obviously be involved in this crash investigation as well. But right now, it looks like rescue officials on both sides of the Hudson are involved in this mission, trying to get to the bottom of it. But the bottom line, 6 people lost their lives. Very, very sad today. And it all unfolding at 3:17 this afternoon in the Hudson River when that helicopter went down. So we'll be following the social media reports for you, because there were a lot of eyewitnesses to this. And as I said, some of them heard a loud noise right before this went down. But we'll be keeping you up to date as we get more information on exactly how and why this happened.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks, Sharon. Looking at the video now, I mean, it looks like they're in the process of trying to maybe get the helicopter out of the river. I don't know how that works. They're attaching buoys to it via a rope. Maybe not. They seem to be moving away now. Nick, I'm trying to remember in previous crashes like this, do they try to get the helicopter right out of the river, or do they keep it there because it's a crime scene, or how does that work? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, they're going to try to get it. Of course, once they've done their search and rescue or recovery, they'll try to get it out of the river and then try to put it in a safe spot so they can analyze what might have happened. And, and again,
do helicopters have a black box like planes?
Some do, some don't. This may not. It depends sometimes how it's being operated, for hire or not for hire.
So would they have any interaction with a control tower to figure out, because if we're hearing that there was a loud noise in the way that it was free falling from the air, we don't know at what time it started to do that, but it seems like it may have lost power or something. Would they have that information?
Lost power. Well, it depends how quickly it happened and who were they speaking to.
Yeah.
So there are, as I had mentioned, when I fly up and down the Hudson, I speak to controllers, because I want them to put me on the radar. I want them to see me and tell me about other traffic.
And how often are you talking to them, communicating?
Sometimes they'll make you give a reporting point, or they'll point out traffic that you should be on the lookout for.
Okay.
So, traffic at your 10 o'clock position.
Because there's a lot of activity in this area, especially with all the helipads there.
Exactly.
Commercial and private too.
Exactly. And and now again, if they're below a certain altitude, they may not be speaking to controllers. They may just be what's called self-announcing. There's a frequency on the Hudson River that is for self-reporting, self-announcing, where you report your position.
Okay.
You report your altitude. You'd say, I'm at 800 feet at the Statue of Liberty, northbound. So everybody on that frequency
is aware
of where you are, and then other aircraft or helicopters will also make their position reports. So they may have indeed been making these position reports. They may have been speaking to either Newark, that area. They would probably be speaking to the Newark tower controllers.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's go to Linda Schmidt is live on the New York side of the river. She joins us now. Linda, obviously we got that horrible update a short while ago. 6 people killed in this crash. What else can you let us know right now? What are you seeing from your perspective?
Okay, well, we just got here on the scene. We are literally just feet away from the 34th Street pier. But look over my shoulder. Obviously, we are on the New York side. Over my shoulder here, you can see the flashing blue lights there over on the New Jersey side. The FDNY responding here in full force. They had boats in the water. They still have boats in the water. They have divers. I just got off the phone with someone with the FDNY, and they are telling me the divers are about to go back into the water again. They have medics here on the scene. And sadly, as you guys have reported, and I heard this from my sources as well, 6 people on board that helicopter. All 6 bodies, or at least 5 of them, have been pulled from the water so far, and they believe all 6 are fatalities. This happened about 3:15 this afternoon, and apparently, and I'm sure you guys have been reporting this already, we just got dialed in here and were able to go live, so I don't know exactly what you have reported, so I'm just going to tell you what I know. There was some type of an issue with the propeller blade. Apparently, sources are saying that it broke off, and there was some type of a thumping sound showing that the helicopter was in distress before it went down. It hit the water, flipped over, and there was an immediate emergency response from the FDNY, the Coast Guard. The NYPD is on the scene here on the on the New York side, but as far as a response on the New Jersey side, you've got the FDNY, you got the Coast Guard, and you have Jersey City, in addition to other emergency response teams from other New Jersey municipalities. And again, what you're looking at right here is right across the water from where the 34th Street Pier is. But sadly, 6 people died in this crash, and I'm told that some of them were children. So I don't know if you guys have reported that yet or not.
No, we have not.
From the whatever initially had happened to the helicopter. See,
This looks like it has no tail to the end of the helicopter from that perspective.
Yeah, when you start throwing blades like that, I mean, it's not going to be a very good outcome. I was sort of wondering if that was just a bird getting in the way, but it looks like there is something coming off. Pieces of it. Maybe it was another piece. Maybe it threw one rotor blade, and then the imbalance created more vibration. So then other pieces then started.
A helicopter is such a delicate piece of engineering, really, in a lot of ways.
You have to think about it. I mean, there's pieces that are trying to get away from each other. Right?
Yeah.
That's how the helicopter kind of flies with the tilt of the rotor blades and the speed of the blade to produce the lift. And to allow the helicopter to climb, hover, and come back down again.
Just to give us some perspective on the Bell 206, talk to us about what kind of structure this is. What is it normally used for in terms of just like flying?
Well, again, it's a turbine-powered helicopter. It's very common around the world. Again, Skyfox is a Bell 206.
Yeah.
So it's used in police activity. It's used in news gathering, videos. They use them for movies, and they use them for tourist
So it's
flights.
sort of a workhorse helicopter.
Exactly.
Basically,
It does everything, right?
Yeah.
It does everything. And again, a turbine engine, which is more reliable than some helicopters, are piston, like, for example, the Robinson R-44 helicopter. That's a very common piston helicopter, but piston engines operate a little differently than turbine-powered aircraft. Again, turbine aircraft engines, which are also used in helicopters, have less moving parts, so they're much more reliable.
Yeah.
But this may not necessarily have been a problem with the engine if it's throwing blades. You start throwing blades.
What does that mean?
So in other words, the big rotor blades, if one disconnected from the structure, the main structure that holds the rotor blades together. I think there's 4 blades, rotor blades on top of the helicopter.
Sure, yeah.
And you have a couple in the smaller blades in the back, right, on the tail rotor. So if it was flipping either the tail rotor blades or, more significantly, if it was flipping the big blades
the top one,
on the top one, one goes off. Now you've got a huge imbalance that's been created, which then would create a terrible vibration. Maybe that was the witness hearing the thumping noise that they said they potentially heard. That imbalance then can potentially grow, and now you have more parts of the helicopter that can start coming apart.
Yeah, so just to reset the scene, if you're just tuning in right now, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, at least 6 people dead in a helicopter crash, according to the Associated Press. Among those dead, children that we just learned from our colleague Linda Schmidt. So certainly, really a very dark day. This crash only happened around 3:15 this afternoon, 3:17. And just from the video we've seen, something went horribly wrong in that helicopter, and it just plunged straight into the Hudson River. Right now, it does not appear there's any survivors, at least 6 people dead. We don't know exactly how many people were on board, but really with that type of helicopter, there couldn't have been much more than that, just to give you an idea of how quickly that helicopter went down.
And with that video that we saw with the point of impact, I mean, that was so difficult to watch and see, and just how powerful that impact was. So this helicopter was seen upside down in the Hudson River around 3:40 p.m. What are we seeing?
And we're looking
here
at
now?
an FDNY ambulance, and they have a stretcher. They're loading someone onto that ambulance on our screen as we then pan away from that. You can see that's the helicopter, that's the NYPD boat, that's the scene where this all took place at 3:17. Obviously a massive emergency response. And I mean, you know, the reality is you're in the best hands in the business here. If something goes wrong, this is who can respond to it better than anyone. But
and it's all
the
happening
video
near
we
that
just saw.
Holland Tunnel,
Yep.
ventilation,
the ventilation
shaft as
thing,
well.
right? Yeah, on the
So-
Jersey City side. So it just, unfortunately, from everything we're learning, it just looks like the people in that helicopter didn't have a chance once whatever took place, which we don't know what happened, but things went wrong in a hurry. And now we are hearing from the AP reporting 6 people dead, including some children. So certainly just a very horrifically sad afternoon.
Does this impact some flights in the area as well?
Probably not so much because the arrivals going into Kennedy Airport would be off to the east, and the arrivals going into Newark would be coming in from another direction. Sometimes the arrivals for LaGuardia fly up the Hudson, and then they make the turn to the right. To the east to try to land at LaGuardia. But they're usually, when that happens, they're at a much higher altitude. So this just could potentially be affecting other helicopter traffic that would be normally going up and down the Hudson. Again, this might be restricted airspace now. General aviation aircraft that also transit it's called the Hudson Corridor, and there are rules that applies. If you're going to fly up and down the Hudson River, there are rules you have to adhere to, so there might be a temporary pause to that now.
Yeah. Right, so it doesn't shut down the airport traffic, but it shuts down just
because they're going to be arriving at a much higher altitude, and
Right.
they won't be down
Gotcha.
this low. So
Makes sense,
it
yeah.
wouldn't be a problem there.
So now it's the investigation into how this happened, what exactly happened, and we've been piecing together what may have happened. With perhaps the propeller blade breaking off, hearing these booms, what we've seen with it free falling to the water. But it's that investigation now. Is hopefully there's black box. Hopefully we have some information.
I mean, the thing about this area too now, every building's got these HD cameras. We're going to be able to see this. Investigators will, from every perspective, angle. We're going to see the whole thing over time and probably get a much better picture of what went wrong. Right now, it's just devastating though to think of what took place here.
And
With
just people
children
with
on
their
board.
phones, they see something in the sky, whoop, get the phone going, and so you're absolutely right. We're going to see a lot of video perspective come out from different angles, which may shed light on what actually happened.
And again, right now we don't know, who owns this helicopter, exactly what type of helicopter it was. We're conjecturing about, whether it was tourist helicopter, something like that. But we just don't know right now. There's a lot we don't know. We hope to learn in the coming hours. But of course, the headline, again, as you see, 6 people killed in this helicopter crash, which took place around 3:15. Is Meredith Gorman waiting for us? Does she have? Not yet. Okay. This is tough. This is a tough one, no doubt about it.
So the helicopter seating arrangement, right? There's 2 seats up front. Usually the flying helicopter pilot actually sits in the right seat, versus we normally think of being in the left seat. And then in the back, it's what is called club seating.
Gotcha.
Where the seats face each other.
All right, Meredith Gorman is actually joined by a couple people on scene right now. Let's go to her and see what they have to say. Meredith.
Steve, I'm here with Vanita, who lives on the 8th floor of this building, which is overlooking directly down into where this helicopter crashed. And you mentioned that you heard a sound when the crash happened. What did you hear?
Again, I was working, but it was such a loud noise. It felt like something crashed into the water. So I just looked around outside my window, and at the moment I didn't see anything. But after some time, I saw there's a yellow board on the water there. So I saw that, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I saw helicopters coming in and out. I came down. I saw a lot of cops, and I saw ambulances. I knew something was going on. Then I inquired, and they said it was a plane crash, like a helicopter crash. But yeah.
And you said the sound that you heard, it almost was distinctly like a crashing noise.
It was like I said, for me, I felt like it was a crash. That's why I'm like, oh my God, this is really loud. What exactly happened? That's why I came down. So it felt like a crash. Yeah.
And you told me at first, living in this large, high-rise building, you thought maybe something hit your building.
Yes. I thought that's why I was scared. I'm like, because I live right by the water here. So just making sure nothing happened to the buildings.
And now when you came down here and you came to this walkway area, were there a bunch of other people who saw this happen or heard this happen, wondering what's going on?
Once I got off the building, I saw a few residents talking about it. And I just saw a few residents out here.
And now, as the rescue operations got underway, did you see anything?
I saw ambulances coming in and out, so I can't see clearly what's going on, but there are ambulances and people helping there. So
Well, thank you so much for sharing what you saw with us. Steve?
All right, Meredith, thank you very much. Again, a lot of people in that area hearing booms and kind of piecing together what's going on. And, we're going to get an idea soon.
That does keep coming up. We keep hearing
the
that.
sound of the crash.
People heard something horrible happen to that. And then, the video we've seen, it seems like that helicopter was already in really bad shape before it even made impact with the Hudson River. And we saw, earlier, we're not going to show it anymore, but we saw it hit the river really fast and hard. That thing just fell right out of the sky. So that's the whole story now, beyond the loss of life, which is unimaginable in and of itself. What happened to this helicopter to make it fall from the sky so quickly?
Yeah, if pieces of the helicopter started coming apart in flight, that's clear indication, if that indeed was the case, that it didn't. It really, at that point, would have no chance of making a safe emergency landing.
And you can even tell, now we saw how active the rescue operation was when we came on air an hour and a half ago. Now you can see that helicopter is there, no one around it right now. So presumably they've recovered the bodies, I would assume, at this point. As by this point too, they would have a much better idea of how many people were on board. Were they all accounted for, things like that.
Because earlier we were seeing just a lot of boats searching for and seemed to be recovering, rescue, and now it seems like everyone has moved on to, what do you call that, the shaft area now?
Right, yeah. And I do all right. Our colleague Sharon Crowley in the newsroom with an update now from New York's Mayor. Sharon.
Yeah, that's right. Mayor Eric Adams, of course, one of the first responders to this situation. And we're just hearing now from him saying his team is on the scene of this heartbreaking and tragic crash in the Hudson River where 6 people are now reported to be dead from the Associated Press reports. Now, we are expecting to have a press conference, including with Mayor Adams and all the emergency responders as is standard, as soon as they are able to do that. And as we've been telling you, this is a rescue situation that's happening on both sides of the river, both New Jersey and the FDNY. NYPD and the Coast Guard, as Linda Schmidt reports, all involved in this, as well as the NTSB. So we're expecting to have multiple press conferences and get some information as soon as they are able to give it. But since this has all just unfolded since 3/17 till now and changed very rapidly, as we saw, and then we saw some of those dramatic and heartbreaking pictures, you can see it's taking a minute to get the emergency officials together to brief the media. But yeah, that's the latest that we know. Mayor Eric Adams on the scene and responding to this emergency as well.
Yeah, still so many unanswered questions, and obviously an investigation like this, a fatal helicopter crash where something clearly went so wrong so quick on the helicopter, is going to take a long time, but there will be a preliminary report. We'll probably have a much better idea, in the coming hours, days, and whatnot, long before the final report is issued. But
yeah,
boy, there's just so much to figure out about what went wrong here. And, even in that area, we've heard from multiple people saying they heard this massive bang before the crash. If you think of how busy it is in that area, you've got the river traffic, you've got the West Side Highway, you've got people running, walking, everyone's in their headphones. I think at this